Hello friends, it's Mr. Jim and welcome back to Kid Short Stories. Do you know what makes these stories like 10 times more awesome? Yes, sharing with a friend. So right now I want you to think of 2 friends that you can share this story to. Your parents can text the link to this very same episode and you guys can listen to it together. Are you guys ready for today's adventure about a magical candy castle? Wait a second, what? Me too, let's go! As Riva was finishing up her breakfast, she grabbed her plate and cup and brought it over to the sink and washed it out and put it in its place. And then she heard a sound. It was a knocking sound at the front door, and she walked over to the door, and there stood a package. A very peculiar-looking package, one that she'd never seen before. It had like a shimmer to it, and she didn't know what it was. She called her parents over to open the door and get the package and pull it in, and she asked, "Can I open it? What is this?" said Riva. Do you guys like finding packages at your front door? Yeah, it's like, what's inside? It can be pretty exciting, but you definitely have to ask your parents first if you're allowed to open it or not, because maybe it's a surprise, or maybe it's a giant mystery, and that's exactly what this package was. Her parents did not order anything, and they didn't know what this box was. There was no label on it. It's like it just showed up. Wait a second, there was a note though. It was sitting on the side here, taped, and it said, "Dear Riva, you have been very good, and this present is for you. Signed, Rainbow Unicorns?" What? Riva couldn't believe it, and neither could her parents. They were very surprised as they read the note over and over and over. Rainbow unicorns, they said. Those aren't real. Riva knew that rainbow unicorns were actually real, and so she kept her mouth closed and said, "Could we open the box and see what's inside?" "I don't see why not," said her parents. Riva carefully opened up the box. She didn't want to risk damaging anything inside. If this really came from rainbow unicorns, this could be one of the most amazing gifts of all time. What do you think is inside of a present from the rainbow unicorns with a very shiny box? I really have no idea, but I think Riva is going to find out in just a few seconds. As she opened the box and looked inside, she saw all these pieces of what looked like some kind of castle. Like a castle you could play in, like a fort castle or like a hideout castle. Her mouth dropped open. She had always wanted a castle to play inside. As she quickly started pulling all the pieces out of the box, she quickly realized that this was definitely going to be an outside kind of toy. She dragged the box out to the backyard and got to work putting it together. It took her several hours to put all these, what seemed like thousands of pieces together. But when she had finally finished it, it was totally worth it. It was an amazing castle. It had a shine to it that looked like inside the pieces were like rainbows, like rainbow light. It was something that I'd never seen before, and Riva absolutely loved it. It wasn't the biggest castle in the world, but it was probably the most beautiful one ever. As Riva anxiously awaited climbing up into the top of the castle, she took her first step on the stairs. As soon as her foot touched the step, instantly a sound popped and what the? Riva opened up her mouth and realized that there was a lollipop that had shot straight into her mouth from the castle. She didn't know exactly where it came from, but as she took her next step, pop again, and the next step again, all the way to the top. By the time she had reached the top of the castle, her mouth was completely full of a dozen lollipops. She was definitely going to need to brush her teeth after this. Riva couldn't believe it. Not only had she received some surprise kind of surprise gift from rainbow unicorns, but it was some kind of candy castle, like a magical candy castle. She didn't know where this candy kept popping out of, but she kept finding different places where she would step and candy would just magically shoot right into her mouth. One time it bounced off her tooth and it kinda hurt, but it still was the most amazing castle that she had ever been in. Riva then called for her parents to come walk inside the castle. She wanted to see if it would work for them too. As her parents walked outside and walked up the stairs to the castle, she realized that it didn't work for them. Wait a second. Maybe it's only for me, or maybe it's only for kids. Hey, what do you think of my castle? Said Riva. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. I love how it has that rainbow shine to it, they said. Is there anything magical about the castle that you've discovered so far? Riva didn't know what to say. Well, something a little bit magical. It seems like everywhere I walk, it shoots candy in my mouth. Her parents laughed and walked down the stairs to go back inside. That's a pretty amazing candy castle you got there, they said. Just don't eat too much candy or it'll spoil your dinner. They laughed as they walked inside. I think they thought that Riva was just joking, but it was actually a real magical candy castle. Would you want a magical candy castle in your backyard? Me too! Riva is so lucky. I don't know how she got that gift from rainbow unicorns, but we have got to get to work on figuring out where that magical castle came from. If I hear anything about how to get one of those, I will let you know. And you too, okay? If you figure out how to get that magical candy castle from the rainbow unicorns, you've got to let me know, okay? Deal. Well, that may be the end of this story, but it's just the beginning of Riva's amazing magical candy castle adventure that lies ahead. Whew, that is one delicious adventure. The end. Great job, you listened all the way to the end, and you know what time it is. It's time for Kid Shout Outs. I want to say hey to Michael and Scarlett from New Jersey, Sebastian from Calgary, Alberta, Eli from Minneapolis, Jackson from New York, Alex and Ava from Georgia, Henry, Jackson, and Charlotte from New York, Finley and Bo from Tennessee. I'm so glad that you're all in the Kid Short Stories family and on our spy team. We could not stop Dr. Stinky Breath and his crew without you, my friends. Well, you have a super duper day, and I will see you next time. Bye.